Frank DiMora here with the Last Chronicles of Planet Earth Ministry. And if you just discovered my YouTube channel, I'd like to invite you to go to my prophecy site, BibleProphecyMan.com. And when you're there, just scroll down and you'll have access to my book, the documentary on Bible prophecy and current events. Of course, it comes to you free. This is the download link right here. Just click that link, and today you can have the most current book as of June 27th, 2012. Now, one of the things that I wanted to show you about this Psalm 83 war, I'm still taking a break, but I promised that I would give you information that would be leading to this next war. There are two wars that haven't been fulfilled yet before the huge war takes place, and that would be the Battle of Armageddon. Now, both of those wars, number one would be the Psalm 83 war, which is advancing, and which I'm going to be reporting about today, and then the subsequent war after the Psalm 83 war, which will be the Ezekiel war, which we find in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. So let's see what the Lord, first of all, says about Jerusalem in the last days. Now, God told the prophet Zechariah in chapter 12, verse 3, and this is what he said. And in that day I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. Not just some of the people, not just some nations, but all of the nations. All that burden themselves will be cut into pieces. And this is direct, right to the point. If you mess with Israel, you will end up falling under the curse, which we find in the book of Genesis when you come against Israel, and you will be wiped out. Then it goes out and says this, though all the people of the earth are gathered together against it. So we know by the time the tribulation gets here that everyone during that period of time, during the tribulation, will be coming against Israel in the last days. And of course, these are Satan's plans to try to wipe out the nation of Israel. And if you would like a comprehensive look at this, you can go into my post as yesterday as I put up the part 26 and part 27 of the book of Revelation that I'm teaching on, and I'll give you a lot of information about what Satan has been trying to do to eliminate this nation of Israel, to try to stamp out the seed of the woman that also we see prophesied in the book of Genesis. So let me go down to the second prophecy here, because I'm going to be connecting these prophecies. This one, again, obviously, is Psalm 83, the war that I've been talking about. And if you're new to my site or new to prophecy, you'll see 1 to 10. These are the nations from the Old Testament that are listed with their Old Testament names. And then on the right-hand side, you will see who these people are in modern-day terms. And, of course, we see that Syria, in the Old Testament, it was called Assyria, and today it's actually the land that would encompass modern-day Syria and, of course, the northern Iraq. So these things are important, and one of the things that you need to understand is, in particular about this Psalm war, that the Lord tells us, well, let me just read it. This may be the first time that you ever saw this. At least you'll understand what's going to happen here. It says, keep not thy silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people. Of course, what they're saying is the people of Israel. And consulted against thy hidden ones. And they have said, come, let us cut them off as being a nation. In other words, destroy them. And this is the same exact verbiage that we are seeing from the Middle East leaders today, saying that they're going to wipe out Israel. Now, it goes on to say that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So very plain, the Lord tells you this is what they're accomplishing, or this is what they're going to try to accomplish. We know that it will not come to fruition. And it goes on in verse 5, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. In other words, all of the nations come together as a confederacy against Israel to try to wipe them out, completely wipe them out. Now, as far as the news goes, you will see that there's very important news showing us that this war, the Psalm 83 war, is headed. Now, the headline that I wanted to point out, you'll see it in yellow here. It says, Fatah to Israel, do what we want or face intifada. Now, a lot of people don't know what an intifada is, and I'll give you this down here, but here's what the subtitle it says. If Israel does not agree to terms laid out by the PA, and they're talking about the Palestinian organization, Fatah recommends a new intifada for Israel to give the PA what it wants. Now, an intifada, for those of you who may not know what it is, it's an Arabic word which means awakening or shaking off. And the term is used to describe a popular grassroots rebellion against the government or policy. And many Westerners associate intifada with the violent upsprings in the Middle East, and some of which have involved Western allies, but in the Arab world. An intifada is a legitimate form of rebellion and one way to achieve independence or liberation from oppressors. Now, the Arabs think, and they believe, that Israel are the oppressors, and that's why they want to get rid of Israel, and that is why we believe that God shows us how that is going to try to happen by these nations coming together to try to wipe out Israel. So an intifada is the beginning of a war, or beginning of what we see from Psalm is an attempt by the nations to eliminate or annihilate the nation of Israel. So let me go right to the article. We'll read a little bit about this article, and it says this. If Israel does not surrender all the lands liberated in the Six-Day War of 1967, set up an Arab state with, get this now, Jerusalem as its capital. Did you see that? Remember Zechariah said that Jerusalem was going to be a burdensome stone? You'll see the fulfillment of that right here, or at least partial fulfillment of it. And as I said, the complete fulfillment won't happen until the book we see the fulfillment of the book of Revelation during the 7-year period of the tribulation itself. So, Jerusalem as its capital, and make significant concessions in accepting as citizens descendants of Arabs who fled Israel in 1948. The third intifada should and must be conducted. In other words, they're going to have war against Israel if they don't get what they want. And I've been saying it, and you'll read about this in my book. Paul told us in the book of Thessalonians, he said, in the last days, when they shall call peace and safety, sudden destruction to come upon them as travail upon a woman, then they will not escape. And so we know that at the time that these nations are calling for peace and safety, and Israel has been calling for peace and safety, and obviously the peace talks have broken down, that's the time that this attack will come. And now they're talking about intifada, and it is the same nations that are pointed out in the Psalm 83 war, and that's not a coincidence. So they're talking about this uprising, and they want to make Jerusalem their main focus. And of course, this isn't new to anybody who knows prophecy, because the Lord said that's exactly what they would be doing. So, for the call of the new uprising of the people against Israel was part of the summation statement issued at the end of the 2-day Palestinian Revolutionary Council, a general meeting held this week. And the meeting was led by Palestinian chief and Fatah party Mahmoud Abbas. Mahmoud Abbas is the leader of the Palestinian organization. Now, the statement declares its support for Abbas' ongoing refusal to back down from positions that have proven unacceptable to Israel in the past, including demands that Israel agree in principle to accept as citizens descendants of Arabs who have fled their homes in 1948. Now, what they're talking about here, if you don't know, that on March 14th, 1948, Israel became a nation again. That was the day that took place. Now, at 12 o'clock midnight, they were attacked by 6 Arab states. And Israel, who against all odds won that war. And they became a nation, as you know, because they're still a nation today. And this is the land, the disputed land that the Arabs want back. Some of that land that they lost, and again, they lost more land in 1967. And you'll get all of that information in part 26 from yesterday's post, which would be the 28th of June. So go there and look at that. And it's very interesting information, but it shows you how prophecy is coming to fruition. Now, Abbas has also declared that he will refuse to discuss anything with Israel until all settlement activities is ended. In other words, there's not going to be any more peace talks unless they get what they want. And essentially, in my book, I told you, and I've asked people to please watch the news, because it will happen at a time, the war will happen, just like World War II, when China came and they were talking peace, and at the same time as they were talking this peace, they sent over their jets, or they're not the jets at that time, but the planes to bomb Pearl Harbor. And we see in likeness that's what's going to happen with the Psalm 83 war. When they shall be calling peace and safety, sudden destruction will come. So let me get back now to my site, and we're going to continue on here, because that's not the only information. There's some other information that deals with Syria, and I'm bringing you back to my site here. In case you are new, you'll understand that once you get to my site, you'll see the links like this. You can click the link. I've already set it up so that we can see what's going on. So let's get involved here, and we're going to stop this video from playing first. But it says, violence in Damascus escalates as Assad on the ropes. So we know that part of prophecy is that Syria is going to be assaulting Israel in the last days with all the rest of these Arab nations. And of course, Syria is also mentioned in Isaiah chapter 17, verse 1, and you'll find it in Jeremiah chapter 49, verses 24 through 27. And in those prophecies, it says that Jerusalem will be, Damascus, if you will be completely destroyed and left in ruins and heaps. And we know that it looks like this is also converging around the same time that the Psalm 83 war seems to be coming to a head as well. And I think that they may clash or come on together like two freight trains on the same track heading for the same direction towards each other. And so it says this in the article: with the attack of the Palace of Justice on Tuesday, a pro-regime television station on Tuesday, and the raid on the Republican Guard barracks in Damascus last week, it appears as if the Syrian rebels are getting closer and closer to President Bashar al-Assad. The attack on the barracks by the Free Syrian Army, the main army opposition group that is made up of soldiers who defeated or defected from the Syrian military, was the closest that the rebels have come to the regime. And by most accounts, the FSA has stepped up action in the capital city. The attack on the main courthouse on Thursday, which wounded 3 people, was the latest advance. But the small raid, while just a test for when the battle does move to Damascus, according to the FSA, was done in the shadow of the presidential palace next door, making it significant in a symbolic action. So they're closing in on Damascus. Now, why am I giving you this information? Well, you'll see here in a second. We're going to go down. We're going to get to the next article that came out from the Decca file. And of course, this is recent information. You'll see that this is today, June 29th, 2012, where the Saudi forces mass on Jordanian-Iraqi borders. And by the way, every one of these nations except Turkey is mentioned in the Saudi or in the Psalm 83 war. Now, Turkey will be involved in the Ezekiel war, the war that will take place after the Psalm 83 war. But this is very important news because all these nations are converging and they're coming against Syria. So there is that possibility, because what's taking place in Syria, that the Isaiah 17:1 prophecy may come to fruition at the hands of the Arabs. Now there's also the possibility that I'm going to show you that as Syria is attacked, something else may take place, and I'm going to show you that in a second. But I just wanted to show you the news surrounding the same nations that are prophesied in the Psalm 83 war. Now, as far as this goes, the Syrian crisis was Friday, June 29th, on the knife edge between the Western Arab Turkish military offensive in the next 48 hours and a big power accord to ward it off. Now, Decca military sources report that heavy Saudi troop movements toward the Jordanian-Iraqi borders Thursday overnight and up in Friday morning, June 29th, after King Abdullah put the Saudi military on high alert for joining an anti-Assad offense in Syria. The Saudi units are poised with tanks, missiles, special forces, and anti-air batteries to enter Jordan in two heads. And one will safeguard Jordan's King Abdullah against potential Syrian or Iranian reprisals from Syria or Iraq. The second will cut north through Jordan and enter southeastern Syria, where the security zone anti-Assad rebellion. And the region is also the home of terrain of Shamir tribe, brother of the Shahamirs of the Saudi Najd province. So here we have movement going on that is, it looks and it could be very, very significant leading on to the next war. So let me go down here and you'll see now why this is so important. Because back in February of 16th of 2012, I want you to read this headline. It says, IDF Syria could attack Israel soon. And you'll see the importance of this because Syria has made a pledge. If they are attacked by outside forces, and I warned you last year about this happening, and then in the beginning of this year, I saw some other proof, which I'm pointing out right now. That's why I'm going back to February 16th of 2012. Syria said that if they were going to get attacked by outside forces, and we definitely see those outside forces coming towards them now, that they would assault Israel. Because at that point, Assad wouldn't have anything to lose. He would be like a raccoon backed up into a corner. He had nowhere to go, and he would lash out. And this is what he stated about Israel, which could end up causing the Psalm 83 war, because if Syria invaded Israel and started to throw missiles and attack Israel, Israel would respond in like manner, and they could obliterate, if you will, Damascus and leave it ruinous heaps. And at that point, there may be a turning about where the Arab brothers who saw what Israel did to the Syrians, they may join together and come down against Israel, thinking that they're going to wipe out Israel in retaliation from what they did to Syria. That is a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen for sure, but it's definitely something that it is possible, and I am watching this intently. I can tell you that right now. So look at what it says. It says, the Jerusalem Post reported on Thursday that there is a growing concern in the Israeli army that Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad could attack the Jewish state as pressure mounts for him to step down. And that's exactly what we're seeing now, months later after this report of February 16th, 2012. Assad is currently facing a revolution in his own country that he has sought to quell with brutal military force, and it's gotten 10 times worse since February. Now, those bloody tactics have resulted in a good portion of the Syrian army joining the opposition, and Syria is nearly at the point of a full-scale civil war. And so, knowing this now, as we can see these many months that have passed, we've gotten to the point now where there is, as according to the news yesterday, the national news here in the United States yesterday, that Syria is engulfed in a full-blown war, civil war. And of course, this also fulfills prophecy in the book of Matthew, chapter 24. You could read verse 6 and 7, where the Lord talks about civil unrest, or nation coming against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And now this is definitely the Syrian kingdom fighting against itself. Now, going down, it says the situation has prompted the Arab League and the Western powers to consider interjecting their own military forces into Syria with the aim of ending Assad's rule. But before that happens, Israeli military officials believe that, now this is the most important part, believe that Assad will lash out at Israel. All right, lash out at Israel, both to divert Arab attention on Syria's internal struggle and to establish a lasting legacy for himself. What has made this prospect all the more worrying is that the recent reports suggest that Assad has been using chemical weapons against the Syrian opposition, including civilians. If he attacks Israel, it is believed that Assad would have no problem using these same weapons against the Jewish state. And I can guarantee you that if he were to do that, Israel would go in there as lightning, I mean quickly, and they would ruin Damascus and they will ruin Syria if they ever did this. So this is why I wanted to show you what was going on in Syria and how it could just develop into the Psalm 83 war of which the Lord has prophesied so many years ago. So it is no coincidence, no coincidence whatsoever that we are seeing the exact same nations that are mentioned in prophecy coming together against themselves and coming together to try to wipe out the nation of Israel. We believe that the Lord told us that anybody that comes against Jerusalem will be cut into pieces, and it looks, the way things are going right now, Syria will be one of the first nations to be cut into pieces, and the rest of those nations that burden themselves over Jerusalem as they're trying to get land back that was lost from 1948, 1967, those wars, that they will again counsel together, they will unite together, thinking that they're going to wipe out Israel. Now, the exact scenario, how it happens, stay tuned, because I believe that in the very near future, it's going to be played out. And what this tells us is that Jesus is one huge step closer to coming back for his church. And that is the very, very important, because all of us need to be ready for when the Lord comes back for us. That is our blessed hope, the hope that he's going to remove us and bring us into heaven, and then the 7-year tribulation will begin. And who's behind all this? Satan. Satan is a destroyer. Satan is trying to do whatever he can to destroy people and nations. And his primary target is Jerusalem and the Jewish people. And for more of that information, go to part 26 and part 27 from my post yesterday, and you'll get all of that information. Thanks again. God bless all of you, and have a great weekend.